Hi, my name is Dave. You're listening to The Last Podcast, where the first shall be last and the last shall be first. If this is your first time listening, welcome. And if you're returning, welcome back. I really appreciate you listening, and I hope you continue to find tips, ideas, and value from listening to this podcast. Today, I want to talk about how to shut down mental spirals. You know, when you have those thoughts and you get stuck in that loop and just keep spiraling around and you keep thinking the same old thoughts, that's what we're going to talk about today. I'm going to talk about a guy who went to a house on a hill. There was this house on a hill that no one dared to enter. They said it was cursed. Anyone who stayed there too long heard whispers, taunts like, in their own voice, and memories like twisted and fears awaken in them. The locals called it the Spiral House. But one day, a young traveler named Saul came to town. Saul didn't believe in curses. He believed in reason. He believed in resilience and the power of the human mind. So imagine, I don't know if you've ever dealt with anything like that, but the town people warned him. They said, Saul, it's not the house. It's what the house reveals in you. Have you ever went through something in your life that you were either afraid of and you just thought, I can't do this, I can't do that, whatever the case may be. You didn't really believe that you had it in you, or you had some type of fear, and perhaps you were afraid of something. And after the ordeal was completely over, you realized it wasn't as bad as you had imagined or feared. Well, just to let you know, the house made Saul very curious. He packed a light, just a journal, a mirror, a lantern, and walked up the hill. He looked at the house as he stood outside. Instead of going right in, he looked around the perimeter, taking a good look at the house from the outside before he entered. What he noticed was overgrown vegetation due to being unattended for so long. Now, some of the weeds were even up to Saul's waistline, and Saul wasn't even a short man. He was pretty tall. Saul walked up to the front door and turned the gold knob on the mahogany wooden door as he opened it. This is day one. At first, he just heard a whisper. The house was kind of silent. It was dust covered over the furniture, cracked windows, cracking sounds as he walked. Saul cleared an area to situate himself as the night fell. Saul began to hear it. You're behind. You'll never catch up. The voice was soft but familiar. In fact, it was his own. Warped by doubt, he shook it off. But then came another. They've moved on without you. You're a burden. By morning, Saul hadn't slept. The spiral begun. The spiral of thoughts. We go into day two. It was about naming the shadows in the dark. Instead of fleeing the house, Saul opened up his journal. And guess what he wrote? The first thing he wrote was fear of being forgotten, fear of falling behind, fear of being unworthy. He stared at the words for a few moments. They weren't monsters. They were truths he'd been too busy to face. Saul whispered, I see you, and the voices dimmed. Day three, here's the shift. He explored the house and pulled out his mirror. As he wiped it off, his reflection emerged. Tired, yes, but clearly he looked at himself. He asked it, who are you beneath the noise? I want you to stop a moment and ask yourself, you, the listener who is listening to my voice right now, I want you to ask yourself, who am I beneath the noise, beneath the self-doubt, history that you have, beneath the conditioning, the habits, the failures, your views and opinions? Who am I beneath the noise? I want you to take a few moments, or if you are driving, when you stop, I want you to be able to write that down on a piece of paper. Your answer. Who am I beneath the noise? Now back to my story. That night, when the spiral tried again, what if you fail? Saul stood up and moved, and he danced, he stretched, he shook off the cold grip and stillness. He learned that the spiral feeds on still minds. I'm going to say that again. The spiral thoughts feed on still minds. We all been there at one time or another in our lives, and some of us are probably there now, with a still mind fixated on untruths, doubts, fears, pain, heartbreak, disappointment, loss, abandonment, and a host of other feelings. Saul wrote in his journal, "Today, I choose movement over misery." We're going to go into day 4. Saul discovered a room that had once been a library, burnt pages, scattered books. He found a blank one and began a new list. I'm grateful for breath. I'm grateful for awareness. I'm grateful for this battle. It's awakening me. Each word, a brick in the foundation of a new mindset. That night, the whispers came fainted. Oh, he barely heard them. "You're pretending," is what he heard. So replied real loud, "No, I'm not pretending. I'm practicing." Why is it important to write down on paper? As you're writing all your thoughts, as you're writing, you are providing a reflection of what's in your mind. Practice becomes your focus with a mindset of improving, empowering, and the bridge to your vision of who you were meant to become. So let's look at day 5, the lantern within. Saul lit the lantern, but this time it wasn't to chase away shadows. It was to illuminate truth. He sat still and visualized a future version of himself, strong, whole, laughing, as he asked this version, "What should I do now?" And the future Saul said, "Go tell others. It's not the house. It's the silence they've never learned to fill with truth." Wow. So, as we go and talk about the descent of this story, Saul walked down the hill on the 6th day. He wasn't the same man. The townspeople gathered expecting ghost stories. Instead, he said, "The spiral house doesn't curse you. It shows you what you've been avoiding. And inside you is a mirror, a journey, a lantern, and the strength to climb out. I went in with questions and came out with tools." The moral of this story basically is the spiral isn't the demon to defeat. It's a signal. It's a call to come home to yourself. The house on the hill is the inside of all of us, but so is the light. How do you want to shut that spiral down? Take a moment and be silent with yourself and let the truth reveal itself. Have you ever caught your thoughts racing, one anxious thought chasing another, until you're emotionally exhausted, unsure how you got there? That experience is what mental health professionals call a mental spiral, a cycle of repetitive, often negative thoughts that pull us deeper into distress. What if you were able to climb out of that mental distress? What about being able to have the capacity to evolve and adapt? What more people have discovered is something that neuroscience now confirms. Human mind is incredibly adaptable thanks to a phenomenon called neuroplasticity. The brain is always capable of change. It rewrites itself in a response to new thoughts, experiences, and behaviors. That means that we're never stuck unless we believe we are. We're never stuck unless we stay there in the same sad thoughts. Mental spirals aren't flaws. They're the survival mechanisms that have gone unchecked. Our brain is designed to detect threats, sometimes overreacts and loops through the same worries to keep us alert. But while this may have helped our ancestors, right, avoid danger, it's less helpful when there isn't no threat, is there? So I want you to think about something. I want you to think about what's in your own life. What spiral thoughts, what negative thoughts, what negative feelings, what concerns do you have that you're dealing with right now? Start writing it down. To stop that mental spiral, I think you need awareness And you also need action. You have to do something, and you have to be able to look at yourself in a way where you're asking questions of yourself. I'm feeling this way. What's making me feel this way? The moment that mental spiral starts forming, pause and label it. Take action. What is this thought? Say to yourself, is this fear or is this anxiety about rejection? So start questioning that. By identifying it, you activate that prefrontal cortex, the part of your brain that supports logic and decision making. This immediately reduces the emotional overwhelm that you might be feeling. So by doing that, you're disrupting the pattern, because that's what we really want. We want to disrupt it, but we just don't want to dismiss it. We want to be able to know and understand why we having these thoughts and what could we do about these thoughts. Write it down. What just happened? Ask yourself that. What am I thinking right now? What am I feeling? Is this thought based on fact or is it assumption? Am I assuming? You got to ask yourself this. What is a more balanced perspective? Hey, I think if you start writing all this stuff down and asking yourself questions, you'll come up with some real focused answers. But it takes practice. It takes time. You have to, sometimes when you're going through those spiral moments, you can use your body to reset it. Reset your mind like Saul did. Start moving, start dancing. Disrupt that moment. Catch it. Start writing it down. Mental spirals often come with physical symptoms: tight chest, racing heart, shallow breathing. Move your body to reset your mind. Go for a brisk walk if you want. Do some jumping jacks. Exercise. And it don't have to be for like 30 minutes. You could just do it for like 2-3 minutes. All you need is to start breaking the cycle of the spiral. And then writing it down and trying to understand what's happening, what you're feeling, what you're going through. What was the circumstance that caused you to think that way? So, and then I'll give you this next one. Practice gratitude. Gratitude basically helps shifts your mind. And every morning, every evening, you can write down 3 to 5 things that you're grateful for. And even you can do that with people. If you want to make sure or enhance relationships, write down 3 to 5 things that you are appreciative of the person or your significant other, wife or husband or what have you. And you can do this starting right now. You don't have to wait. So I don't know, but I'll just read this part to you. According to positive psychology, gratitude rewires your brain to scan for what's good instead of what's wrong. Over time, this reduces anxiety and improves emotional resilience. Isn't it something that you would like to have in your life? So give yourself a designated time each day, 10 minutes, to have a gratitude moment. And if you're worrying about something, make sure you have a pen and pad. Write that down, what it is that you're worrying about. What are you making this mean to you? Because sometimes we're looking at a circumstance or something that just happened, and you have to start saying to yourself, what am I making this mean to me? Because your thoughts, what are your thoughts about what just happened? What are your thoughts about that circumstance? Because you have to look at the perspective as well. How am I feeling about this? Or how do I want to feel about this? And if you want to embrace being upset about something, embrace it. Don't push it down. Don't hold it down, but put a time limit on it. You know what? I'm going to deal with this for the next 15 minutes. And after that, that's all I'm going to give this. That's all the time I'm going to give to this moment. I want my peace. I want my gratification. I'm not going to let stress rule over me. But I'm going to give this moment of being upset its due time. I'm going to take 15 minutes and be upset, but then I'm going to move on. So close your eyes and picture the strongest, calmest version of yourself. 6 months, 1 year from now, see how they walk, see how they talk, see how they respond to stress. What would that version of me do right now? That's a great question to ask yourself. All right, I think I've taken up enough of your time, but I'm going to leave you with this final thought. Mental spirals may feel overwhelming at times, but they are not permanent, and they are not who you are. You have the capacity to change, to adapt, and take back control at any time in your life, any moment in your life, because what you're going through, you're thinking about it. Every time you interrupt a spiral, you're not just avoiding anxiety, you're rewriting your brain's operating system. Hey, that's all I got for you. Do me a favor, subscribe, like this podcast, and I thank you so much for listening. Be blessed.